What is going on, y'all? So excited to be here. Episode 4, I believe, of our podcast, Nerds Galore here. I am super stoked to be joined, as always, by my brother, Halfwit. You can find him down there. Halfwit draws, Halfwit does stuff. Go check him out. Got some great stuff. I got my brother from another mother over there, Star Wars Nerd 00.
Hello there.
How's it going, sir?
I'm tired, as always.
I think we can all feel that. And then, last but certainly not least, a newcomer, but hopefully sooner rather than later be more of a regular staple on the show. My buddy Whistling Breeze down here. How's it going, sir?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Good. Glad to have you. So let's just get started into it. Now, I know last time we ended our podcast, I said we would talk about Bigfoot. However, our Bigfoot enthusiast / professional / Bigfoot, what's that called? Like, he knows about it all. I can't think of the word. Anyway, he's not here tonight. Connoisseur, there we go. Yeah. He's not here tonight. So we are going to just take that and, as that cartoon says, just put a pin in it. And we're going to save it for next time. In the meantime, we're just going to get started with some Star Wars talk here. So I'm going to actually let Mr. Whistling Breeze take the floor. Go for it, dude.
So I can't remember where I saw this video, but it talked about various different ways that the prequel trilogy could have gone. And it's based on something that I would consider as kind of a weakness that they've had in each of the trilogies that Star Wars is each of the Star Wars trilogies. And it's that it seems like they don't really plan all 3 movies before they make the first movie. And it's not like we, the audience, have to know exactly where they're going, but it seems like they don't know where they're going sometimes. So, yeah. So the idea is, if the prequel, so the original trilogy, it's Luke's story, but Vader is there. And what if the prequel trilogy was more Obi-Wan's story? And yes, Anakin's there, but the first 6 movies would have been all about Anakin and Vader. But how the first 3 movies were about Luke, the second, the prequel trilogy would be more about Obi-Wan. And in particular, in the first movie, if the idea that came about basically in the Clone Wars cartoon that Darth Maul didn't die at the end of episode 1 actually was a part of that movie. And so episodes 2 and episode 3 would basically be much more of a kind of a conflict between Anakin and Obi-Wan, in that Obi-Wan would be, instead of having Count Dooku and Grievous, Darth Maul would be the main antagonist for the next 2 movies. And Obi-Wan would exemplify even though he killed my master, I'm not going to go seek vengeance. But Darth Maul would be the one who basically took out Anakin's mom. And so in the 3rd movie, Anakin is like, the reason that my mom is dead is because you would not seek justice, and you call it vengeance, but because you wouldn't do something about this, everyone is suffering, or not everyone, but more suffering has come about because you would not do what needed to be done. So now I'm going to go do what needs to be done. But the Jedi Order would be basically saying, no, this is vengeance. This is not justice. And so it'd be something along those lines.
I like that. I don't know. Whistling Breeze was telling me about this last night, and I actually I like the idea. What do you guys think? Star Wars nerd, Halfwit, like
that. I like that. And it's funny because there's this YouTuber I watch, Jeremy Johns, and he reviewed the Star Wars movies like 11 years ago or whatever. And he even said that, like, yeah, it's cool. Like, we get 3 different villains set up in 3 different movies, but how cool would it have been to just have one guy take over all 3 movies? And he showed a picture of Darth Vader because, Vader is like the big bad in all 3 of the original movies. And I think it definitely could have benefited from just Maul that would have been a different, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what it comes down to, is I want to see that.
Yeah. And that's something that we talked about last night, Whistling Breezes too, is like it's hard to develop a character in one movie. It's near impossible to develop a full character in one short movie. You know, you need to have an antagonist that you can develop. You know, like Obi-Wan, you get 3 movies. Well, 4, you know, technically. You know, Anakin, you get 3 the 3 prequels to build his character up. Like we should have the same for the antagonist too. Like you have 3 movies to build up Darth Maul, you know. And that's where he finds out not only all that stuff that you were talking about, but you know, like finds out that Palpatine is behind it all in the end, you know. So,
and if you have a new antagonist, basically a new antagonist for each movie, you have to take time to explain who they are, their motivations, what they're trying to do. And Grievous, really cool, but he's new. And Count Dooku, I love Christopher Lee. I think I love Christopher Lee movies. They're awesome. But we talked about the interview that the stunt coordinator just did for the prequel trilogy. That in episode 3, Christopher Lee? He wasn't moving his arms in the lightsaber duel or something like this. What was that? Gazer?
Yeah, you were kind of telling me about that. That something about Christopher Lee not using. They didn't use his arms in that.
Yeah, like they were all CG.
Yeah,
or something.
What?
Yeah, did you see this? Yeah, like
no.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so some of the things that I've seen is that Christopher Lee was getting to a point where he wasn't able to do any of the sword fighting on his own. So there's actually a stunt double, and then they put his like head on the double, I think, or something like that, or they put like the double's arms on his body because he can't fight that way anymore because he was getting to that age, right? Like, but
exactly.
And I mean that happens in plenty of other movies as well. Just to think of like. Man, I don't know what I could say for sure, but the stunt guys have been a thing for forever, and I think this is something similar to that, where it's like you still get the fights that you always see, especially like to go off of that the fight scene cut from episode 3, the Anakin versus Dooku fight cut from episode 3. I want it so bad.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Where he like reaches in and then like Count Dooku drops the lightsaber, catches it, and then
it's so cool. Oh, it's so cool. I want it so bad. But that like if you watch that, the thing I was going to go off of with that is that the person fighting in that scene, that cut scene is the double. It's Hayden Christensen and the double. Because can you imagine Christopher Lee at that age doing that kind of fighting, that kind of movement, that kind of
I can't.
Like no, exactly. Like as much as I love the guy, he was at the point where he was past that physically. And I mean, when you're a space wizard, you can do whatever. Like it's fine. Like in the movies, it's whatever. But like in real life, you have to have that sort of consideration. So I mean,
yeah, that's just wild. Seth, have you or Whistling Breeze? Have you seen that that video of the?
I've seen part of it. Maybe it was all of it, but I sure saw part of it.
It was so cool. It was so cool. They're also supposed to have, and I was telling you about this last night too. They're all supposed to have a different ending to Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
There wasn't supposed to be high ground.
Yeah.
So I was listening to an interview that Star Wars Theory had with Nick Gillard. They were walking around the streets of New York City and said that basically instead of the high ground, they got to a point where Anakin literally had Obi-Wan on his knees. Obi-Wan's lightsaber's behind him. And Anakin goes, "This is the end for you, my master," and goes to chop him down. And as he does, Obi-Wan leans to the side and calls his lightsaber. And as he does, it ignites and cuts out Anakin's legs from underneath him. And then as he's falling, and he's grabbing the lightsaber, that's where he also chops off his arm or something to that effect. And then he goes tumbling down the hill.
I want to see that, please.
Right?
Yeah.
Please. That's brutal, but it's also really cool. Like, what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different brutal scenes that George cut out. Like I saw one the other day. I was scrolling on Instagram, And apparently, while Anakin is force choking Padme, he's supposed to like slam her up against a wall or something like that.
I saw that. And then not only slams her up against the wall, but holds her there and then turns and stares down Obi-Wan as he's doing it and is holding her against the wall. Like,
well, shoot,
and he's surprised when she's dead.
I was actually telling Star Wars Gazer on our podcast, NerdGazer, which the 3rd episode just dropped yesterday. You guys can go watch that. And the Revenge of the Sith novel. Have either of you guys read that novel?
I have heard very good things about it. I want to get it. That's on my list.
He goes into so much detail about like Order 66. Like, we barely get to see that in the movie. But in the book, it talks about, I forgot the name of the first Jedi that walks up to Anakin, but he's just like, dude, what's going on? Like, what are we going to do? And the last thing he remembers is just feeling the piercing heat of Anakin's blue blade entering his skull and exiting out the top of his head. It's like, where's this?
Here, I'll share this with you guys too.
Brutal.
You shared this with me, Star Wars nerd. So I'm going to share it with you guys. This is that one about Emperor Palpatine.
Oh, dude.
Tin frowned and cocked his head. His blade dipped. A smear of red flashing darkness hurtled from behind the desk. Saisi Tin's head bounced when it hit the floor. Smoke curled from the neck, and from the twin stumps of the horns severed just below the chin. Agent Kurla swayed. His emerald blade shrank away, and the hand grip tumbled from his opening fingers. A small, neat hole in the middle of his forehead leaked smoke, showing light from the back of his head. Help! Help! Palpatine cried like a man in desperate fear for his life. Security! Someone! Help me! Murder! Treason!
Man.
Like,
all right.
Crying like he's in needs help, but he's like just absolutely obliterating these guys. But like, help me, you know, like
Cheapers.
In the book, when Anakin jumps over Obi-Wan and he cuts off his leg, it states that his limbs keep tumbling on and turn to ash as they fall into the lava bank. So, yeah. These books are they're pretty gruesome. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Which reminds me, like I saw Star Wars nerd. I finished that first book of the Bane trilogy, dude. There's a scene in there where he is literally basically on death's door, and he's on this planet where there's like a battle from like a month or two ago, and he ends up succumbing for a little bit. He crashes his land speeder, wakes up a little while later, and there's a father and his 3 sons, like 12, 8, and like, I don't know, 6. And they're scavenging the battlefield for, you know, things that they can scrap, things they can sell, whole 9 yards. Well, the one kid, the oldest, picks up his curved hilt lightsaber and is like, what's this? You know, doesn't know what it is. The father recognizes it and goes, throw it now. And as the kid goes to throw it, Bane ignites it and it hits goes through the kid's skull. It drops. He calls the lightsaber to himself. And as these guys are dying, he's feeding on their fear and their agony to help him keep going. And so he calls the lightsaber to himself, literally ignites it on the way, decapitates the other kid, gets his lightsaber. The father grabs his youngest and is sitting there on his knees like, what are you doing? Like, we haven't done anything to you. Like, can you, like, please, like, don't kill us, blah, blah, blah. And his saying has always been, and he says it in his head, he goes, those who beg for mercy don't deserve it. And then ends up proceeding to kill both of them too. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is insane. But yeah, just to say that the books are cool. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, to continue on with that episode 3 novel, there actually is a scene that I heard about on some other podcast or something, just listening through, and it was a conversation about that book, and one of the scenes that they brought up was Count Dooku's death.
Yes.
Because, and I actually, there's a drawing that I have in one of my sketchbooks somewhere of, I drew the scene that it kind of draws from, where Count Dooku, right, he's on his knees, right, Anakin's got the lightsabers to his neck, and then Palpatine says, "Do it," and then then Dooku looks over at him like he's got this look of just like, what, why, and then he's like, and in the book it describes that in that split second before his head is just no longer on his shoulders, he's like, his whole life flashes before his eyes, and he's realizing that every single moment of his life has brought up to this, where Anakin kills him and takes his place, and nothing that he's worked for will ever come to fruition, because none of it ever meant anything. He was always the pawn, and he sees it, and then he's dead. And it's like, I drew this headshot of him in that exact moment of realization, because I wanted to like add scenes from like the Clone Wars and things and other things that I'd seen, and like draw from like the chapter of the book to turn it into that moment of a realization that oh no, oh boy, right before he dies. And I drew the headshot and then never finished any of the rest of it. But I'm glad that we talked about this, because now I have a reason to finish it. So that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like if they had in episode 3 more moments like that, where in the temple you had, I don't know, Shakti's died like 47 times, but if you had Shakti in there, somebody in there, where it's like they like the look on their face when they truly understand. Here is this kid. We welcomed him in. He's on the council, but he's not a master. But all that stuff, and here's this guy, and he's going to kill all of us. Like he's not like yeah, exactly. It's like we're all going to die, because you see the aftermath with Obi-Wan and Yoda, where they're like, and of course you see with the children, where that I think that scene could have been even more. It's bad, but it could have been much more.
It needs, that movie needs to be rated R with extended scenes, and we need to see that stuff to see the just the gravity of what the horror of what Anakin actually did.
Yeah,
dude. Sort of like the Batman versus Superman rated R extended cut thing.
Didn't Nick Gillard say that George Lucas?
Go ahead, Star Wars nerd.
Didn't Nick Gillard say that George has got like at least like 3 different movies of just deleted scenes that were cut from each prequel movie?
Yeah.
I mean, the Phantom Menace was originally like 6 hours long, and people said it was mind-bogglingly good. Let's see this.
Yeah. give us the Lucas cuts of all those movies.
Man,
that would be sweet. But I'm sure
if Disney ever sells it, then we might.
Yeah. Do you think he turned all that over when he sold Disney, or do you think he still kept that?
No, I think he kept that.
I hope he did.
I think
he was probably like, you guys get like the base rights to the original 6, but like these are mine.
Yeah,
that's how I imagine he'd do it. That's how I'd do it.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. So, Whistling Breeze, I know you and I talk a lot, and you're not only a good movie watcher when it comes to Star Wars and stuff, but you're also a big gamer and stuff, and you've played a lot of these different games. Like, I've talked to Star Wars Nerd about this. I've talked with Halfwit about this. Like, as you analyze the Star Wars universe, games and movies, like, to you, what is the issue that we're getting what we're getting, if that makes sense? Like,
for the games,
and movies, like, kind of like, what is your take on, like, because they're all the same company, let's be honest, right? Like, and so, like, for you, what is, when you look at the situation of like all of these, I mean, non-par movies and different things that we've been getting, like, what is your take on what that issue is?
I think the core issue is, if you look back, let's say, like, you have Spielberg, George Lucas, Scorsese, guys who they were artists, and they made what they made was, maybe it was successful in their time, but there's some George Lucas movies that, like Willow and stuff. It's like, okay, maybe you liked it, but it was a particular type of product. It was unique. It had a certain type of vision. If you look back at a lot of the Star Wars content that came out, besides the movies, you could tell that it was Star Wars, but some of it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
You could tell it was made by people who love Star Wars, but some of it, like what the Ewok stuff with the talking mountain and stuff, where it's like, okay, that's a little weird. But
what?
Yeah, there was
a film, right?
Big pardon?
Animated film or something like that? Animated series?
I think
something like that?
it was. Yeah, I think it was like a little Saturday morning cartoon or something.
Oh, that explains it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I've seen the clip where I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. Or famously the holiday special, where you're like, that is, you can tell that's Star Wars, but man,
Star Wars nerds getting mad over there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. So
I hate to cut you off, but
right.
I went to go do a reaction video to that holiday special for my 200 subscriber video, and each time my footage got corrupted or my audio got corrupted, and I watched it like 4 times, bro. Oh my god!
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cursed media. It breaks other recordings of it.
Yes. But it's kind of like how at the time people looked at the prequels and some people were very unhappy. But now we have perspective. We can look back and we can, I think, clearly see the difference between products that are made by people who love the source material and people who at best are ambivalent. They could take it or leave it. It doesn't really mean a whole lot to them. And so now you can see, in my opinion, the stuff that is coming out that is approved by Disney, whether it's made by EA with the Battlefront games or Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft. It's not necessarily the source. It's the lack of love and respect for what it was and what it was supposed to be. It's true that some of the stuff is made for children, but it's also true, like the first movie, you had smoking skeletons of people that you had just seen alive.
Right.
People's limbs get cut off. Episode 3, somebody's head gets cut off. Yeah. So it's like, yes, in some way it is for children, but it also has serious elements. And when people who are in charge of things, not necessarily one person, but like the people who are in charge of the way the characters are dressed, the dialogue options, like not options like a game, but like the way that they choose people to speak, because everything's written down, and that's how they do it. You can see even between each other, between J.J. Abrams with 7, Rian Johnson with 8, back to 9, the Solo movie, the Rogue One movie, the shows, you can see how, not to bring up a sore point, but Mandalorian going to Boba Fett, back to Mandalorian, it's almost like they're cannibals, where because they had a successful show with the Mandalorian, they couldn't make Boba Fett be that loner, edgy, really a bounty hunter character, because they already made one with the Mandalorian. So instead of that, they had to make a softer, he takes his helmet off, he talks a lot, character out of Boba Fett. But even then, they didn't trust enough, and they used it as a springboard back into the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And it not to keep talking, but
no, keep talking. This is what this podcast is for.
It just seems like because they don't really care, you can see that they don't really care. Because they're just looking for money, because they're just looking for what is popular right now, they don't even try to have that creativity of the original stuff.
Yeah.
They copy it soullessly. It kind of looks like it, but the heart isn't there. And so maybe if you don't look too close, or if you don't really know about it, it looks fine. But as soon as you get really close to it, you can tell it's a robot, not a person.
Yeah.
Because there's no soul there. So.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's a good way of thinking of it. Like I've told Star Wars Nerd this, and if they realize the gold mine that they're sitting on right now, like you don't have to use Legends like word for word by any stretch. But I mean, for crying out loud, there's so much source material. It's not even funny. And
yep.
I know every time Star Wars Nerd and I talk about this, we start getting a little angry, but it's just
because there's no source material apparently. Remember,
apparently.
So yeah.
And it's true. And some of the source material. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
Some of the source material can be a little crazy.
For sure.
So I can understand if they said, "Hey, we're starting over. We're going to get real." Like when they said, "Okay, all the Legends or everything that all the Legends are no longer canon." Like that decision that they made. I can understand it. If they were going to say, "Look, no more talking mountains. We're not going to do the Yuzhang Vong because that's kind of 90 like the 90s aesthetic, or whatever decisions they're going to make." But when they say this doesn't exist, but then they go back and they say, but Thrawn is awesome, or this character is awesome, or this event is awesome, so they bring it back. But they don't bring it back. They bring back a kind of a perverted, or maybe not perverted, that's too strong, a slightly changed version of the character.
They take the one element from the story and then they make it what they want.
Yeah. And then they use that because they know, they know that there are fans. They know there are fans who they'll see, they got Thrawn back. Awesome. But then it's not Thrawn. It's like Thrawn. He looks kind of like them. Or I'm not just picking on Thrawn, but just different things.
Yeah.
Where they know that that's a hook that will get people back into put their eyes on it, so they can try to make money on it.
And then you get close, and then you realize it's a robot. Yeah.
Speaking of Thrawn, to bounce off of that, I'm curious because I don't remember the timeline on this. But did the whole Disney acquisition thing with all of the Legend stuff is non-canon? Did that happen before or after Rebels?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I want to say they did it immediately as they bought it, like in 2012, 2013. Because didn't Rebels come out in like 2014 or something like that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think Rebels was their first thing, wasn't it?
I think so, because I remember Clone Wars was on Cartoon Network for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, I didn't watch the Clone Wars or Rebels up until last year. Like I caught episodes here and there, like just flipping through the channels. But I remember it was on Cartoon Network for the longest time. And then all of a sudden I just didn't see it. And then they came out with Rebels on Disney. I was like, what is this?
Yep.
Yeah. It is a shame. It is a shame. Hey, we got somebody here commenting. We got Outpost Treasure Chest says, "Sup, y'all? Dig the conversation here." Thanks, Outpost. If you guys get a chance, go check out his Instagram and YouTube. He just put a lightsaber review out, so go check him out. So good to see you, Outpost. Hope you're doing well, man. So it's sad to see where things are. I don't know. We talk about this a lot, but it is truly sad. So
Yeah. We have had. Now that I'm talking, I don't remember exactly. I'll just say it this way: we have not had a whole lot of actual video games that are Star Wars come out in the past decade. Well, whenever Disney bought it, however long was it? 20 years?
12 years now.
12 years. 12 years. Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say like the anniversary was just recently. But do you remember when we had like KOTOR 1 and 2, Republic Commando, Empire at War, Battlefront 1 and 2?
Yeah.
You had so many, like they just recently put Bounty Hunter out on Steam. I'd never played it before. I'd seen other people play it, videos and stuff, but to play it, I'm like, this is awesome. This is a Star Wars game. This is great.
Yeah.
And it was sad because I'm like, man, are we ever going to get something like this again?
Yeah,
like
the coolest video game that Star Wars has come out with recently for me are the Jedi games, the Jedi Fallen Order and the Jedi Survivor. I felt like those were pretty good. And then before that, honestly, would be the Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Dude.
Sam Witwer.
Yep.
I just finished Fallen Order for the first time like about a month ago. And it made me go back and jump back into playing the Force Unleashed because I've always just messed around in that game growing up. I never like played for the story or anything. As a little kid, I get to play a video game and I got lightsabers. I'm just gonna go around and slash everything down. But I'm more immersed in the Force Unleashed story than I have been in watching Tony play both the Fallen Order and Survivor. Like playing the newer games, I'm just like, okay, this is cool, fun time passer. But like when I go and I play, like I've got Republic Commando, I've got Force Unleashed, I've got the Revenge of the Sith tie-in game on my Xbox. I've got the original 2005 Battlefront 2 game.
Yeah,
I get more immersed and feel like I'm actually playing a Star Wars game with those games than I do the newer games.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Fallen Order was a bad game. That was a fantastic game. Aside from having to make my way back to the ship on the Zepho planet, that was. I don't like that. I had to restart my game like 4 times because I kept getting lost. But it's just sad. I mean, they announce and give us like these cool, awesome concept trailers and concept arts for these video games, like 1313. Whatever happened to that?
Man.
I was just gonna bring that
up. I have never been more upset than when I first saw the concept footage for that game and then was told it was never gonna happen. Never been more upset. That game looked so good.
The Mandalorian game that just got canceled, like a couple months ago. It was about to come out. They had already like had people testing it, and it looked good. And then nope, it's canceled. We don't get to play that game now.
If you go back and you play the 2005 Battlefront 2, the campaign where you're going along with the 501st.
Yep.
And you just listen, and it's Tamara Morrison. It's him. Yep. And you and just listen to what they're talking about. It's like when they go into the temple, just that monologue where he's like, I can't do it justice. But you hear he's the guy and he's saying things that actually make sense. Where he's like, we know what we're doing. We're going to go kill a bunch of people. Some of them are like, he doesn't say it, but it's like, yeah, you understand that he's talking about, we know we're about to kill children. And he's like, it's what we have to do. And it's like, it's so much more intense than I played, Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor?
Yeah.
In Fallen Order, the whole game, you're looking for a holocron. You finally get the holocron, and in the last 30 seconds, maybe a minute, you decide to destroy the holocron, and that's the end. And I understand it's a good hook to get the because the holocron had a it was
Force sensitive children or something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So okay, that's a good hook. But you, in the very end of the game, you just decide to destroy it. So now it's like the game never happened. You spent this whole time to get this thing, and then we're gonna destroy it.
All right.
And go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm gonna share this with you guys. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Let me know if you guys can hear it.
What I remember about the rise of the Empire is how quiet it was. During the waning hours of the Clone Wars, the 501st Legion was discreetly transferred back to Coruscant. It was a silent trip. We all knew what was about to happen, what we're about to do. Did we have any doubts? Any private, traitorous thoughts? Perhaps, but no one said a word. Not on the flight to Coruscant, not when Order 66 came down, and not when we marched into the Jedi Temple. Not a word.
I just just a brief thing, but it's just, oh man, it's so, like you said, Seth, it was so well done.
Yeah.
I've got a question for y'all about the clones. Do you prefer them having the inhibitor chips, or do y'all prefer them just being like, oh, execute Order 66? Gotcha. I'm going to turn on this dude that I've known for the past 3 years.
I think it makes more sense to have the inhibitor chip.
Agreed. Yep.
If you, I think the idea was that the Jedi were more of like kind of strike team with their own separate group from the clone troopers. But as soon as you make it as you say, they've worked together for years. They've been in the trenches together. They've bled and died together. It makes no sense that they would just turn on them unless there's an inhibitor chip.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
And even with that cutscene, right? You could make the argument with the inhibitor chips, like they didn't say anything because they couldn't say anything, and they didn't realize that they couldn't say anything because of the inhibitor chips. Like that within there, like you can make the argument that like even with that, the way how powerful that is, it makes it even more hard to stomach when you realize that it's not even that they didn't, it's that they couldn't, and they didn't realize they didn't have the option.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, look at Rex in season 7 when he has to turn on Ahsoka. He resisted as long as he could, and inevitably, what happened? Boom!
Yep.
Yeah. I think the thing with that is that he knew, and I think it's because of the fact that he knew that he was able to do something about it.
Yeah. Those other guys didn't know,
right? Because
once they heard the words, it was just over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The closest one to know outside of Rex was probably Cody, because even Cody was able to recognize, like when he's got the thing and Sidious says execute Order 66, he doesn't say like yes sir or whatever like all the clones do. He says yes my lord, right? Like, so he's got an inkling there's something there, right? Even though he does call for the strike, whatever, right? Even though he still does that, there's still something there, because I think he was probably close enough to Rex that Rex probably told him something.
Well, and
so I think there's got to be at least a little recognition, right?
Yeah, and according to Stuart Beattie, who wrote the original script for the Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy, he actually said that Commander Cody is on Tatooine with Obi-Wan. And is actually helping Obi-Wan. Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He said
that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. He said that he originally wrote it where Commander Cody ends up he hears about this just Jedi on a remote planet of Tatooine, and the brief description that he gets, because he served so long with Obi-Wan, he's like, that's Obi-Wan. I know for a fact that's Obi-Wan. So he goes to the planet and he finds Obi-Wan, and basically Obi-Wan has to go away to protect the kid. And while he goes away, he puts Commander Cody in charge of watching Luke while he's gone. So it's kind of funny because I know why Star Wars Nerd is laughing. Are you thinking about the little Jawa scene?
No. I do want to go back to what Halfwit said. In the book, when Commander Cody gets the orders to execute Order 66, there's a funny little moment because obviously it happens right after he hands Kenobi back his lightsaber after he drops it from fighting Grievous. Commander Cody gets off the holocron with Sidious and goes, "You couldn't have told me this before I handed him back the bloody lightsaber."
That's so funny.
I'd always thought about that. Like that has to have gone through his mind, right? That has to have. It has to have gone through his mind. So to know that that's in the book, that's awesome. I love that so much. That's great.
I'll make this argument with anybody. I want somebody to find a copy of Revenge of the Sith, the novel, with the Legends title or the Legends Essential Collection. You won't.
Really?
None of the... well, I don't have it with me. It's kind of in front of me. I've got a Attack of the Clones book, like the novel Attack of the Clones. Doesn't say Legends on it. None of the Phantom Menace books, they don't say Legends on it.
Well, I don't think it's because they're Legends books, are they? It's because they're the official novelizations of the movies, so they're not Legends. This is fact. This is what's happened.
My understanding to it is the books, like in general, are canon until something in the movies contradicts it. Because for the longest time, it was canon that Masamita, the blue guy that's next to Sidious, I think that's his name. I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of the side characters, but he burns Yoda's lightsaber. And then when Luke is training Grogu, he's got Yoda's lightsaber. But apparently they came out and said that Yoda built a second lightsaber but sworn to never use it again, which I think is just the dumbest thing ever. Yeah. I think it's just a continuity error and they forgot about that comic.
That seems more likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my understanding of like the canon, the book continuity.
Interesting.
The moment Luke figured out Grogu exists, he builds the lightsaber for him on his own. He just goes off into a cave and whips it up himself.
This used to be my master's lightsaber.
The frog will join me whether he likes it or not.
Oh man. So yeah, but Commander Cody was supposed to be on Tatooine with, according to the original scriptwriter of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a part in there with Commander Cody where as he's protecting the kid, there's some Empire like some of the Empire stormtroopers that recognize him and go to kill him, and he kills him, and he puts him on his little land speeder and goes to the Sarlacc pit. And as he's dumping them, a little land speeder of Jawas pulls up, and they push a couple bodies over the edge into the Sarlacc pit and then take off. He said he put that in the script just for fun.
Wasn't there like a bunch of people there just throwing stuff into the Sarlacc pit, and they just look at Cody like, oh well.
It's like Disney doesn't know what their fans want. I want this, please. I would do anything.
And as they leave, I just want them to yell, "Ooh, you know, like...
See, the problem is, Halfwit, they know what we want, but it's like Whistling Breeze said. They don't care. They just want something like... I'm looking forward to the Mando and Grogu movie. I'm hoping it's good, but I'm scared that it's just going to be Grogu-centric just because of the Acolyte bullshit. And sorry, I know you don't like cursing, but whenever I bring that show up, it slips out.
I get it.
But I feel like they're just gonna... I mean, if the movie isn't Grogu-centric, I definitely know the marketing is definitely going to be just so they get people to buy tickets. And that's not what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outpost on here. This is hilarious, guys. He says Sarlacc convo reminds me of something Family Guy would do. Yeah.
It's such a good bit, though. It's such a good bit, though.
That is funny.
I had never thought of that, but that makes so much sense.
That would be so cool to see.
Funny Outpost. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. You're not wrong there. I could totally see that.
Even if it is, it makes sense within the world like that. it makes sense. Like it would be, and not only would it be funny, but it would also be such an interesting, like a little world building tidbit. Like it's something so small, but it's something that it's like, oh, this is actually really, really cool. It's such a cool little detail. I want it so bad. I want it so bad.
And like Seth, like or Whistling Breeze, like you were talking about before, with they take an element like Thrawn and they pull it out and then they use it and they're like, ooh, look at it, it's Thrawn, it's so nice and shiny. They did the same thing with Stuart Beatty's script. They took just certain elements out that they wanted and then done away with the rest.
Yeah,
I'll argue that the only thing they pulled out of his script was Reva.
I mean, yeah.
What we got versus what he wrote is two completely different projects.
There are, like I said, very small, very thin things that they did pull out of his script and then just like trash the rest, which is dumb.
I suppose we shall just suffer then.
And if you guys haven't, not just you guys on the stream with me, but like anyone watching this, if you have not seen that interview, go to Star Wars Theory and look up his interview with Stuart Beatty. I wanted to cry and rage at the same time. I've never had that feeling before, but oh my word, I wanted to do both at the same time. So, yeah, it's unfortunate where Star Wars has landed us so far. So, yeah. I was gonna talk to also here Star Wars nerd about. I know you had a video you just released yesterday. Was that yesterday?
I released. I think it was. I released like 2 or 3 videos yesterday.
So our brother in arms, Mr. Tony at Star Wars Sith 66, kind of got you onto a new hobby. Like you needed another one here on these Star Wars Topps cards.
Yeah, if anybody don't know, Star Wars Sith 66, he's a bad influence. He got me to buy my first Black Series helmet because he posted it like a couple months ago with a deal. He got me to go to my first Comic-Con and spend a bunch of money down there, and I bought a bunch of figures and stuff from him. And now, actually, him and my buddy Blore on Mandalore, great Australian YouTuber, puts out videos every Wednesday and Saturdays. They started opening up the Topps cards, and I was like, well, I'm going to be like everybody else. I'm going to hop on the bandwagon. No, the hell I'm not, because you can't buy the cards because they sell out in like 30 seconds.
Not only that, though, the Star Wars Galaxy cards that came out with, so they have like, you can get them in one box. It's $200. And there's like, how many packs? Like 12 packs?
I think it's 16? Like 18 or something
18
like that.
18 packs. But you can...
I'm looking for something just like this. Just a little small box. No, but you can't buy it with those.
No. So there's like 18 packs in the one box. It's $200. And then you can buy a case, which is 12 boxes. And in each case, you're guaranteed at least one signature card. So one card with somebody's signature on it. And I know, so Star Wars 66 started getting into that. There's another channel called Battle Packs Official. He was going through, and what he does is as he opens these, he sells these packs like as he's doing this live. So somebody bought one of these packs and he opened it and it had a Samuel L. Jackson Mace Windu signed card right on the top. And he was like, it was like the third pack he opened and he's like, holy crap. Like, so anyway, all of that to say, now Star Wars nerd has started down the dangerous path. He's gone down to the dark side.
Yeah.
Who needs money anyways, right?
It took me actual months of tracking down. I finally found some that you can find on Amazon, and I finally pulled the trigger on it. But these are tops. They're not the chrome or the autograph ones, but they're Kenobi Season 1, and they come with a commemorative patch in each box. And this is the one that I pulled. It's a lot different than the other ones. It kind of looks like a painting, but it's cool. Got a different texture. It's like a patch texture. and as you can see, it's a lot thicker than a normal card.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I just got
an old Jersey card or something.
I've never been into cards, so I might have to look that up in a little bit. But I gotta let me rearrange these into the order I want to show them. There we go. Got a couple cards. I opened up like 61 of them. I'm not going to go through all 61, but I got some of my favorite ones that I pulled, and I showed y'all before we got into this, but I don't like the Inquisitors like at all. They're fine in animation, but in the Kenobi series, it just was not.
Did them dirty.
This
did them so dirty.
This card I think is pretty sick. And I would actually love to get like a 8x10 print of it. And if I ever meet them at like a convention or something, I'd get them all to sign it because the picture does kind of go hard. We've got Mr. Kenobi being the high ground.
And then pummeling Darth Vader with the high ground.
We've got
not again
his signature stance.
There you go.
I will do what I must.
Good Lord. I'm just now noticing how thick his blade is compared to like the prequels.
Yeah.
That is God bless. Of course. The man, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
There he is.
Hopefully it'll show up good this time.
Better this time around, yeah.
Looks good.
And then, of course, Battle Damage Vader, which might be the first hot toy I ever buy. I haven't decided yet because that's a lot of money to spend on a action figure.
True story.
Again, who needs money, right?
Got another comment here.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. How you doing, bud?
Welcome to the stream, good sir.
There you go.
I like the name Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Of course he knows him. He's him.
True. As we kind of, like I said, I like to try to keep these around an hour. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about? Doesn't have to be Star Wars related. Like I said, this is Nerds Galore. We talk about everything. Owen Kenrick.
I just did. He said to tell you, tell Gazer that he says hello.
Hello, Gazer. That's me. No. How's it going, Obi-Wan Kenobi? It's good to have you here, man. I'm glad you're in the stream with us. Go ahead. Whistling Breeze, do you have something you'd like to talk about? Let's do this.
Well, I was going to say, it's not necessarily just a Star Wars issue or even just a Disney issue that it seems like a lot of things are being reused without the soul. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of different IPs in movies and video games. And so it's not like I'm saying these particular people are awful. I'm saying they're all generally awful.
Yes.
No. I'm saying
agreed.
Yeah. They're I think it's a situation where so many of them they're not able to be creative. They have to succeed. If they're putting so much money into each project that they can't allow it to be, well, they want to mitigate every risk they can. Yeah. So they want to appeal to everyone that they can. And so they appeal to basically no one.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Man.
I mean, how do you
really
feel?
turn that dear direct subject to whom it may concern?
Yeah.
How do you
to whom it may concern.
How do you feel then about like the new Lord of the Rings stuff that's coming out? Do you hear about that? About Gollum and Smeagol, the new movie coming out?
Oh yeah, the Hunt for Smeagol or whatever it is.
The Hunt for Gollum. Yeah, and obviously Andy Serkis is reprising his role, but like he's also directing, and then Peter Jackson is, I think, producing. I want to say,
okay,
with some other co-producers. But I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I don't know. I feel like there could be an interesting story there, but at the same time, like you said, I feel like there's also they're trying to reuse stuff. I don't know. How do you feel?
Trying to milk it for all it's worth.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say if you look into the behind the scenes type stuff for the Hobbit trilogy versus the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you can see the insidious hand of the studio reaching out into the production of those movies and telling them, you must have this element. You cannot have that element. This character must be this. These lines have to be thus. And when you have, it kind of goes back to that old Steve Jobs quote where he talks about when a business becomes so successful that the number guys, the numbers people,
Yeah,
they will become the decision makers, and the creative people that made the company be successful in the first place, their opinion will be relegated to like a secondary station. So you can see, like, it's really sad. You can see behind the scenes footage of Peter Jackson, like, and I've heard, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but they were involved in the production of the Hobbit movies, and they were like, yeah, Peter Jackson would come in and he would sit down for like half an hour and just think through and think and think, and he'd have to figure out, what do we need to shoot? Because the studio would be changing things. But if you go back to Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, they had years of planning and being meticulous of, this is where we're going, this is how it's going to go, let's make it. And it was really tough, but they made it, and it was excellent.
it was.
So I don't expect that to change. So maybe the movie will be good if they can get Viggo Mortensen back, if they can get whoever they can get back, cool. If they can make great music again, cool. But if the studio decides to be not invasive, but if they decide that they have to have things their way, then even though we'll have more Lord of the Rings content, I don't think we'll have more good Lord of the Rings content.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing when, like, you take the creativeness away from the creators, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason they're creators. Let them create. You know, as they say, these young kids say nowadays, let them cook. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, let him go. Like, let him do his thing. Like, you know, if you sit down with your creators and you guys come up together with an overall plan, and your creator's going doing his thing, and you see something that's like, hey, that's not necessarily in line with the plan we talked about, then that's fine. Like, if that's what you guys talked about and that's part of, you want to try and keep it part of the plan. But like you said, this overlord kind of thing, direction that they take is like, you're ruining movies when you do that.
It can be to their benefit, but it almost never is. If you go back to like how Disney and Marvel were going towards Endgame, you can see that they allowed people to be creative to a point, but they said this character has to go to this place. These events have to end out, like the end result has to be here. So because we're going to fight Thanos in this movie. So you can do your creative things with however you want to do it, but it has to end over there. And if that is their plan, great. But I think most of the time it's movie by movie or project by project, you know, video games, television shows, whatever. And really the only goal is how much money can we make?
Yeah, and let's be honest, sometimes it's moment by moment for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Episode by episode.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever we feel goes.
Yep.
So, all right, Star Wars nerd, I have a question for you. What is going on here with this?
All right, so over on my podcast channel, Tales from Peridia, me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and my buddy Darth Christensen, we get together and we'll record a video, and I'll put it out towards the end of every month. Just kind of like we catch up, talk about Star Wars, just talk about kind of whatever comes to mind. And the last time we all filmed, I guess there was a plane that was flying over Sean's house for like an hour before we started recording, and all throughout the recording you can faintly hear it just like and it always popped over whenever Sean would like be in the middle of talking or just about to start talking. It would be away when me or Darth Christensen were talking, but Sean, I'd be like, all right, Sean, well, what did you think about this question? And he'd be like, and then you just hear
That is awesome.
He says it's the British, but obviously interruptions can only mean invasion, so it's the Separatists or the Great Federation.
Right, exactly. I agree. Yeah, it's not the British are coming; it's the Separatists are coming. That's right. Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Halfwit, are you working on any new art or anything you'd like to share or anything like that? Or
I mean, not especially. I mean, I've got some new art materials that I've been tinkering with, but I mean, I guess I've got plenty of work to do and very little time to do it. So, you know, not a ton of personal stuff going on. Right. Yeah.
Well, Whistling Breeze, thanks for joining us tonight. It was great to have you. I hope to have you on as a steady guest. I know right now your season of life is a little busy, but it seems like it's winding down pretty good.
Oh yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Star Wars nerd as always. It's a pleasure.
It was about time I was able to finally get on here.
I know that was a story and a half trying to get you on here. Oh my word. It was, man, that was wild. That was a wild trip trying to get you on here. I'm glad we were finally able to do. It's funny though, guys. I gotta tell you, so we've been trying to get him on for a long time. And finally got him on, he's like, yeah, we're good for tonight. Well, this morning he texts me and he goes, dude, unfortunately, like I'm gonna read this here because this was just too good. He was pretty good. Let's see. He says, so unfortunately, and just leaves it there. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, man. And then 5 seconds later, the text pops up. The actual text pops up. I can't work tonight, so I'll be on NerdsGalore tonight. I was like, you dog.
Yeah.
Got him.
You dirty dog.
Little backstory to that. So Friday night, me and Star Wars Gazer were supposed to go live and react to Vader Episode 2 clips and the Skeleton Crew trailer. Well, I'm on the phone with my girlfriend. She had like a very shitty day. I'm comforting her. Well, I'm like, okay, well, I got to get off the phone. I got to go film this video. I'll call you when I get done. I go to the bathroom. Next thing you know, I'm just cuddling my toilet in my bathtub, just threw up all over the place. Like literally like 5 minutes before we're supposed to record. So I wasn't able to make that. So I was like, well, I'm not going to work tonight, obviously. Well, I already wasn't going to work because I skipped work to go film that video. Hopefully nobody from my job is watching, but
Wait, here's the deal though. You didn't end up skipping work. You were sick.
Yeah.
I would go anyway.
Exactly.
Great things to be saying live. Best conversations to have on air.
So, I was planning on working.
I work. I love my job.
No, not me. I absolutely hate my job, and they know I hate that place.
Best conversations to have live.
All right, continue on. Sorry. Anyway.
So I was going to work a little bit tonight to just kind of make up a couple of hours. But when I asked my manager, they were like, nah, bud, like you're not on the schedule tonight. Like that's your fault. You didn't come in Friday. So it was like, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna mess with Star Wars, Gazer.
Can't do that to me, man.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi says, then a spider came along and went up your shirt.
Oh my god! Oh, dude, the backstory to not it didn't go up my shirt, but I was about to get in the shower one time, and I'm sitting there, I'm texting Sean, and we're talking about whatever we were talking about, probably Spider-Man or Star Wars, because it's like all we talk about. And I just so happened to look over, and I saw something out the corner of my eye. I was like, "What the heck is this?" And so the way my bathroom is set up is like I got my bathtub like right here. There's a shelf next to it, and there's a little tiny gap. Well, I turn my flashlight on. I'm like, okay, what is this? Because I saw like a little, kind of like a little shine. I was like, what is that? I turn my flashlight on. I go looking. There's a spider the size of my freaking hand just chilling on the side of my tub. I'm like, I'm gonna burn my house down. Like, I called my dad. I was like, so do we have fire insurance? He said, why? I said, because I'm about to burn this house down. There's a massive spider in the bathroom, and I'm not touching it. I'm not going near it. I'm terrified. Yeah.
No, what he really meant to say is when he first called, his dad answered, and all he heard was,
to make it even worse, it was the first day that I ever tried to record the holiday special. I actually dragged Sean along. I made him watch it with me. I made Sean watch it with me. His footage got corrupted the first time. Like, there was literally only like 12 minutes of his footage that was usable of the video.
Cursed media.
This is getting better. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi's commentary on this.
Bro, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I was like on the verge of tears. Like, I'm pretty sure like I had tears streaming down my face. Like, I am deathly scared of spiders. I have massive arachnophobia. Like, it don't matter if it's a massive spider the size of my hand. It could be a little tiny jumping spider that uses damn raindrops as hats. I don't like them. I don't want to see them. I don't want to look at them. They can all burn like Anakin on Mustafar.
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burned to the ground.
Dude, there's this one Australian YouTuber that I used to watch. He killed a huntsman spider in his house, and it started shooting out like a worm type deal. I'm good. I don't like spiders, and the fact that some you squish and then like millions sprawl out of them.
Yeah.
No.
Somebody get the hairspray and a Zippo.
Star Wars Nerd 00. He will face down a legion of Sith. But when it comes to spiders, he is tucking tail and going the other way, baby.
Wait, facing down a legion of Sith. I'm leading the legion of Sith.
Fair enough.
Till it comes to the spiders.
Why do you guys kill the spider for me? Thank you.
Actually, if I was a Sith and I came across a massive spider, I'm just electrocuting the hell out of it while sending my lightsaber at it.
You might want to text Obi-Wan Kenobi because he keeps releasing details of story.
Dude, I might release that footage. I think that's actually a part of the footage that I was able to use and say for his. Bro, yeah, I'm just saying, we're watching it. He goes, "Hey man, that spider's behind you, bro." I turned around and got up so fast.
That is awesome.
Lost the headphones.
That's how you know you have good friends that care about you.
I got your back, bro.
Closes the door slowly.
That is so funny. Oh man! All right, I need to see that video footage, Star Wars Nerd.
Yeah, I'll go. You actually might, since you're an admin on my StreamYard, you might be able to go through my past recordings and find it.
Okay, I might have to go back and look at that. That's funny.
Into the bloopers reel.
Oh, dude,
right?
I've got so many blooper reel like stuff that I've actually got an entire video where I tried to keep it looking as serious as possible with me and Darth Christensen. We were arguing if Kenobi rocks or if he stinks and is the worst Jedi because, in my opinion, he didn't do nearly enough to try to bring Anakin back in episode 3. But there's like at least like 15 minutes of footage of us just dying in between arguments.
I mean, once you get to the territory of killing kids, it's a little up in the air of like, is he even worth bringing back? Like, he's got to live with that now. Like,
yeah, but it just seems like for the relationship, I would agree with Star Wars Nerd that for the relationship they had, all he did was try to argue with him. He didn't try to like, hey, what are you like? Try to talk to him in any sense. Like, what are you doing? Like,
when Luke says in Return of the or when Vader says in Return of the Jedi, you're Obi-Wan once thought as you do. So Luke, when he says, "Come with me, Father," there's still good in you.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan never said that, and I don't care what anybody says. That little, I'm sorry, Anakin, for all of it. That is not.
No.
That does not. That's nothing like Padme or Luke. Mean like there's still good in him. Yeah. He can come back.
That's the whole thing that Stuart Beattie said. That's the whole reason he created the Obi-Wan Kenobi script for the 3-movie trilogy. Because he said he remembered that line from Return of the Jedi. He goes, that wasn't said in Revenge of the Sith. There's a whole story there off that one line like Obi-Wan once thought as you do. Okay? When?
I wonder if it's more in reference to the fact that Obi-Wan was willing to train Anakin at all when the rest of the Jedi Council was like, maybe we shouldn't because he's angry and he's
because he says even Kenobi didn't want to train him at first.
Well, also because Luke says right before that, he says, I sense there's still good in you, Father. Right? And he says, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. So that implies that when Obi-Wan thought that there's still good in him, then that means that he was already Darth Vader by that time when Obi-Wan sensed there's still good in him. But we never got to see that.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
lots of missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, anyone else have anything that they want to discuss? This has been a lot of fun. I am not going to lie. I have not laughed so hard in a while. Star Wars Nerd, sorry we had to laugh at your expense, but we appreciate you being a good sport.
It wasn't funny.
He's laughing with us, it's all right.
Yeah.
The day it happened, it wasn't funny. I would have been like, no, this isn't funny. But now I look back at it and it's absolutely hilarious.
and now we got Obi-Wan Kenobi in the comment section over here, just releasing all of your fears and woes. I think you need me to maybe stop talking to him about all your fears and giving people ammunition like that. That might not be a good thing, especially if you want to be a leader of the Legion of Sith.
Well, fear is a path to the dark side. So
fear leads to anger,
and I have all of it.
Anger leads to hate.
That I'm full of.
And hate, we all know,
leads to being bald.
Yes, that.
little bit of a curveball there, but all right.
It works.
Well, look at all the dark side users. Most of them are bald.
He's
got me there.
He's got me
there. Now Dooku wore a toupee.
Can you imagine that? Like all of a sudden in one of those battles, they're like standing there and you just see his little toupee like
on the speeder scene in Geonosis specifically. The speeder scene on Geonosis specifically, just you see him adjusting it as he gets to the platform.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I need to see that. I'm gonna learn how to do like the Clone Wars animation style, and I'm gonna animate that.
When Dooku gets decapitated, you see it come off of his head as it's rolling on the floor.
All right, last one here because I gotta know. Ask him about the projector.
No, we're not. No, not here. No.
Okay.
And cut.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Tales from Peridia type of story because anything goes on that down that channel until
Fair
YouTube
enough.
takes it down.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That'll be another story
Real
for another
quick
day.
plug for the channel. Real quick plug.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that's so funny. Speaking of which, guys, banner down here. Use code SWN00 or Star Wars Gazer at Rebel Scum Apparel. Get 15% off your entire order. As always, sign up for the rewards. If you sign up for the rewards, you earn money, points towards your next purchase. Every 10 points is $1 off. So if you earn those points plus the 15% off, you're starting to earn. Bada bang, bada boom, you're starting to earn a lot more money off those shirts. So
I'm almost positive that with the points I have racked up, and if I use you, me, or Tony's code, that I could get a free shirt right now.
There you go. Yep. And then, as always, go to YouTube, check out Tales from Peridia and Star Wars Nerd on there, as well as my Podgazer podcast, and obviously I'm Star Wars Gazer. If you want to see more content like this, like this, share it with other people. Comment as much as you want on here. Even though the video is going to be posted, I still go back and read comments because it's kind of fun. Other than that, I think that's it, guys. I think that's it for tonight, episode 4. So appreciate y'all joining us, and may the Force be with you always.
Always.